this process?
Well, what we have to realize is that the AI boom is here. It is here to stay. We have a geopolitical constraint, which is that whatever we are not doing, China is doing, India is doing, and increasingly nations in the Middle East are attempting to do so and catch up as well. So we have to balance the need to compete in the AI market and in the data market of the 21st century with the environmental and community concerns around such. What we know is just here in the state of Georgia, for example, some new data centers use upwards of 9 million gallons of water to evaporate and cool their systems per day. That is water that is used for agriculture. That is water that is used for human consumption. That is water that is used for production of food. Clearly, when you have ground reservoirs and lakes, you risk running out of the water needed to sustain the rest of us in order to support these data centers. In addition to that, the large scale construction needed to build these centers in Morgan County and in other places have fouled the water supply to the point that even the remaining groundwater that is in that is available is unable to be used for human consumption. So we cannot allow the need for these data centers to expand to cause environmental or economic harm to communities. And that's the balancing act that many states and many municipalities are working towards ameliorating currently.
I see, yeah. And speaking of balancing, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, suggested that money from pension accounts and insurance companies should go to big tech for the years to win the AI race with China. Do you see any potential bill like this even be introduced or passed in a non-emergency time period?
Absolutely not. That is something the American people will not tolerate in any large scale manner. At the end of the day, we are seeing the U.S. economy increasingly being dominated by about 4 to 6 AI companies. That the rest of the economy for the last 2 years has essentially been in recession, but because of investments into data centers and to chip manufacturing into AI companies, that's very much what is keeping the U.S. economy afloat. Every major industry is investing hundreds of billions of dollars. As Mark Zuckerberg says, even if you spend too much money, it is worth the risk to not be left behind once we get to super intelligence, as they call it, which will be computing power, which is thousands of times that of any human. We have not gotten to general intelligence yet, but they are seeking to get to super intelligence. So they have the money to do so. These billionaires, we just saw Elon and Jeff Bezos recently shoot off their rockets to outer space. They have the money to make these things happen, and I don't think the American people are willing to chip in with their entire retirement firms to make these same billionaires into trillionaires potentially going forward.
Yeah, and some brand new reports indicate some brand new reports from Microsoft and Uber indicate that using large-scale AI systems for companies might be significantly more expensive than paying human employees. Do you think this kind of calculation might affect the situation that we're having right now with data centers?
I don't think so because we are currently in the transition process. Think about the end of the agrarian age and the beginning of the industrial revolution. At the beginning of that, there were large scale riots throughout England. They burned down factories that were attempting to industrialize. There were social unrest. Thousands of people lost their lives as a result of the transition between the feudalistic system and the industrial revolution. But at the end of the day, those are just lost leaders when it comes to adopting new technology. In a similar way, we can all think about if you were alive in the 80s and 90s, the transition from the analog world to the digital world, where there was very much large amounts of consternation with the automation of auto factories, the automation of accounting, of law, etc. So that instead of having pencils and papers and books, now everyone was increasingly plugging into the internet through computers, etc. So what we're going to see is these companies are going to take the short-term hit in order to long-term be able to transition to a fully autonomous system because they believe that is the only way that we will be able to compete with China, who has increasingly gone to computer and AI-related manufacturing for their consumer goods in order to drive down prices even lower. Saw data come out this week saying that for the first time in almost 23 years, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates in America is lower than the is higher than the national unemployment rate, meaning that young people coming out of college are not getting jobs because these entry level jobs are being filled by AI enabled activities. This will increase. So the question has to be not trying to stop this from happening, but how can we adjust the economy to take in these new employees, to take in the changing the job market, and to create things going forward. There was no gig economy 20 years ago, but we transitioned and we made it work, and I think that's what we'll see happen with AI.
Right, I see. And just a small follow up to the previous reports. After them, some companies have been accused of firing a lot of employees, saying they don't need them anymore thanks to AI. And they've been accused of using this as well as pretext for legally grey manipulations with workforce. What's your take here?
Well, corporations are evil. That is just part of being a corporation. As has been said many times previously, there is no ethical way to earn $1 billion. And at the end of the day, these corporations are competing against the other corporations within their same sphere of influence. That being said, they are going to do whatever they can to cut costs, to raise profits, to increase their share price. And this endless effort to become the richest person known to the history of mankind, or whatever the goal is of these billionaires. For that reason, I encourage everyone to, instead of trying to fight against the machines in this Terminator style last stand for humanity, find out how exactly AI and computers can benefit you and the work that you do. You will not be replaced by AI. You'll be replaced by somebody who knows how to use AI better than you do. It should be part of standard school curriculums at this point in time, understanding and using these tools, because at some point in history there was a somebody who was hunting with a bow and arrow, and somebody invented a gun. And you can either be the person who's still there with the bow and the arrow, or you can be the person who's using the new technology to become more efficient in what you're doing. So we're not going to fight against and win this war against the corporations and the machines, but what we can do is find out how to carve out that new area of the economy that will exist for the people who know how to use these tools to maximize their productivity.
Wow, yeah, I see. And last question about AI. Some ideologists and visionaries in tech companies like Palantir's Alex Karp have been dubbed techno-fascists online, as they've been advocating for a future where, quote, inferior cultures are subdued with the might of technological prowess, including AI in military. How do other Americans view Silicon Valley culture in this scope?
Well, the issue with the Silicon Valley culture is it's not American by its very nature. Most of the CEOs, most of the people running these companies are not Americans, whether it's Elon Musk, who's from South Africa, the founders of Google, etc. So they don't have traditional American values at their core. And combine that with the fact that they are so rich, they've become transnational. Their corporations don't care if they are headquartered in California or in China. Their workforce is international. Their dividends and their stock calls traverse the globe. So they don't care that much about America, because at the end of the day, they're going to go where the business environment is the most friendly. And if tomorrow China opened up their society, allowed them to have freedom and autonomy, took away regulations, you will see them headquartered there tomorrow. So the American people have to decide how they want to regulate these institutions. It was very clear that the 2024 election was decided in large part by big tech. The Biden administration was putting guardrails in place that would slow down the integration and the production of AI, that would put laws in place where states would actually be able to regulate AI, where we would have federal legislation that would stop things such as deep fakes, such as revenge porn using AI, all these sorts of issues, in order to actually put some types of guardrails in place. Big tech got together. We all know famously Elon Musk invested as much as $250 million into the Trump campaign. We saw them using large scale models in order to predict voting patterns. We saw them using information technology to go after voting rolls, to file lawsuits in jurisdictions. And because of this, President Trump won all 7 swing states within the margin of error. So they were able to use this convergence of big tech and social fascism to change our electoral process and to elect their own president in order for them to remove these AI regulations that were slowing them down from their, of course, goal of global destruction and control of our entire global economy. That being said, you have to balance that need for regulation with the need for innovation. We are in a global market and a global economy. So if you come down too deeply on regulating AI, they will pick up and they will reopen their factory in Japan, Hong Kong, India, or Saudi Arabia tomorrow, whoever gives them the best deal. Our political systems were not built to handle these sorts of levels of wealth, levels of influence, and levels of power. So going forward politically in America, we're going to have to make a big electoral issue about which party or which candidates are going to strike that balance between supporting innovation but also protecting the public from groups that do not have American interest at their core.
I see. Yeah. Thank you. Um, Also, if you don't mind, would like to ask you a question on another topic about the U.S. new project in the Philippines.
Could you repeat the question? I apologize.
Yeah, the question about the new U.S. project in the Philippines. A
Well,
new.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So the U.S. is now negotiating creation of a huge processing hub in the Philippines, close to raw ore deposits. One of the contention points is Washington's request that this industrial zone should gain immunity like diplomats and be governed under American laws, not the Philippine laws. What do you think about this kind of initiative?
This is part of a large scale goal of this current administration to have what I call neo-colonialism. We've seen this with their efforts to overtake Greenland, for example, and turn that into a mining colony to gather rare earth elements. Their goal of overtaking Venezuela that we saw recently in order to get access to the world's largest proven oil reserves. They've also announced that after the conclusion of the war in Iran, they'll be taking over Cuba in order to have a colony there, to have access to the trade routes that intersect the Cuban island by having their own friendly government in place. And similarly, what they're attempting to do in the Philippines under the leadership of the son of actually Ferdinand and Imelda Marcos, they're trying to establish the new American colonial system where we will return to international mercantilism of extracting resources from faraway colonies and using that for the benefit of the mother country. America is a country that is $37 trillion in debt. We have a highly educated, highly paid workforce, which makes it nearly impossible to compete on the international market when it comes to price. We have exceedingly high environmental regulations that many believe thwart innovation. So often what we do is we push these things out of sight, out of mind. We don't need to know where the Nikes or where the iPhones are made. We just need the finished project. So for America, building this type of facility in the Philippines will be another example of being able to establish a colony where you can extract the resources you need. You don't have to worry about your local environment at home. You don't have to worry about voters. You don't have to worry about regulations. But at the end of the day, the people in those areas will be the ones who suffer. They lose the loss of sovereignty, the loss of valuable land and resources, and the continued control of a larger colonial power over their area. Particularly when we're in this geopolitical struggle between China and the South China Sea, and them wanting to spread their sphere of influence throughout Southeast Asia. I believe these sorts of initiatives are going to draw us closer to conflict within the region.
Yeah. Thank you a lot for your insights, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, and have a nice day.
You too.